So let's talk about next topic, medicines which are known as beta blockers. First is classification of beta blockers. So beta blockers can be classified in three groups: generation 1, generation 2 and 3. Generation 1 medicines are also known as non-selective beta blockers, and these medicines can block both beta 1 as well as beta 2 receptor. Now, because these medicines are blocker of beta 2 receptor, these medicines can constrict the blood vessels. We discussed already in introduction part that beta 2 receptor is responsible for vasodilation. So, if I block this beta 2 receptor, blood vessels will get constricted. So, these medicines are vasoconstrictor beta blockers. Now, what are the names of these medicines? Names are number 1, propranolol, number 2, timolol, number 3, nedolol, number 4, sotalol. These are the 4 medicines which are non-selective beta blockers and used clinically. If we talk about generation 2 medicines, these medicines are known as selective beta blockers. These medicines are selective in their action as these block only beta 1 receptor. And if we talk about beta 1 receptor, it is not present on blood vessels. That's why by blocking beta 1 receptor only, these medicines have no effect on blood vessels. But beta 1 receptor present on cardiac structure. So these medicines which are not active on blood vessels but only on heart, these medicines are active. We call them cardioselective beta blockers. If we talk about generation 2 beta blockers, these medicines are also known as selective beta blockers. Why we call them selective? Because these medicines block only beta 1 receptor. There is no effect on beta 2 receptor. And we know that beta 1 receptor is not present on blood vessel but present on heart. So these medicines which are active on heart but not on blood vessels are known as cardioselective beta blockers. If we talk about examples of these medicines, examples are betoxolol, esmolol, atenolol and metoprolol. You can remember by this mnemonic BEAM, that is BEAM. Now if we talk about generation 3 medicines, generation 3 medicines is a special group of beta blockers which have vasodilator property. And this vasodilator property is not related with their beta blocking effect. So all these medicines have some additional mechanism of action apart from blocking beta receptor, and because of that additional mechanism, medicines can dilate blood vessels. So we have 3 generations of beta blockers. Generation 1 medicines can cause vasoconstriction. Generation 2 medicines have no effect on blood vessels, only affect the heart. And generation 3 medicines are vasodilators, right? So generation 3 medicines are vasodilators. What are the examples of generation 3 medicines? We'll discuss that. There is one group of beta blockers which also block alpha receptor. And by blocking this alpha receptor, medicines have vasodilator property. Medicines examples are labetalol, carvedilol. Now apart from this, there is also one more group. Medicines which are beta blockers also have calcium channel blocking property. And by blocking these calcium channels, medicines can cause vasodilation. Examples of these medicines are cardiolol and carvedilol. Both medicines start with alphabets C and A, that is calcium. Third group of vasodilator beta blocker is medicines which have property of donating nitric oxide. So third group of medicine is beta blockers which can donate nitric oxide. Example of this class of medicine is nebivolol. So please remember, N stands for nitric oxide, N stands for nebivolol. So this is the classification of beta blockers, where we have discussed three groups of beta blocker: generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. Now after this classification of beta blockers, we can discuss about indications of beta blockers. So beta blockers have in total 17 indications. First 7 indications are related to cardiovascular system. So where these beta blockers are used: number 1, beta blockers are given for the treatment of hypertension. Now how these beta blockers are useful in hypertension, we'll discuss generation wise. We people already know this point, that blood pressure is equal to cardiac output into peripheral resistance. So whenever we have to reduce blood pressure, we have two options in hand. Either we can reduce cardiac output or peripheral resistance. So if we talk about generation 1 beta blockers, these medicines can block beta 1 receptor, therefore have the negative effect on heart and can reduce cardiac output. But by blocking beta 2 receptor, these medicines can cause vasoconstriction and therefore increase peripheral resistance. So one parameter is decreased, other parameter is increased. In such type of scenarios, we have to calculate the mean blood pressure. So if we calculate the mean blood pressure after giving non-specific beta blockers, non-selective beta blockers, we will find that there is a mild decrease in blood pressure. So there is a mild decrease in mean blood pressure. So these medicines can reduce blood pressure, but they are not very good drugs for hypertension treatment. So clinically, these medicines are rarely being used for the treatment of hypertension, because these medicines will have only minor effect on blood pressure. But if we talk about other generations of beta blocker, generation 2, generation 3. Generation 2 medicines are blocker of only beta 1 receptor and therefore reduce cardiac output and responsible for low blood pressure. So these medicines are used. Talk about generation 3 medicines. Generation 3 medicines, by blocking beta 1 receptor, reduce cardiac output. Plus these medicines also have vasodilator property. And because of vasodilation property, because of any mechanism, alpha blocking, calcium blocking, nitric oxide donation, these medicines will also reduce peripheral resistance. Right? So both parameters of blood pressure are reduced. So medicines are also given for high blood pressure treatment. So generation 1 medicines are less commonly used. Generation 2 and 3 medicines are commonly used for the treatment of hypertension. Now, if we talk about the specific examples, please remember one drug. The name is labetalol. Labetalol is a generation 3 beta blocker which also has alpha blocking property. And this medicine is considered as drug of choice for PIH. So this medicine is found to be safe in pregnancy. And because of this reason, this is considered as drug of choice for PIH. Apart from this, there is one more drug, esmolol. This medicine is used for hypertensive crisis associated with intraoperative procedures or surgeries, as well as this medicine is given for hypertensive crisis associated with aortic dissection. So it's a drug of choice for hypertensive crisis associated with aortic dissection. So in patients of aortic dissection, what exactly happens? Whenever we give esmolol, Esmolol will reduce the cardiac output. Esmolol is a cardioselective drug, block beta 1 receptor, reduce cardiac output. And when less blood will flow towards aorta, there is rapid healing of dissection which has already taken place. So esmolol is very good drug for the treatment of hypertension associated with aortic dissection. Number 2 indications where beta blockers are used is angina. So we people already know this point. There are mainly two types of angina: classical angina and vasospastic angina. So beta blockers, when given to a patient, medicines block beta 1 receptor, reduce cardiac output or reduce force of contraction, as well as these medicines can reduce heart rate. So by reducing force of contraction as well as heart rate, these medicines can reduce oxygen demand of the heart, and therefore these medicines can provide relief in patients of classical angina. Apart from classical angina, if we talk about generation 3 medicines which have vasodilator property, so this vasodilator property can be used to dilate coronary vessels, and therefore generation 3 medicines can also be given for the treatment of vasospastic angina, right? So generation 3 medicines which have vasodilator property, for example nebivolol, which donate nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is a very good coronary vasodilator. So this medicine also has a role in treatment of vasospastic angina. Carvedilol is one more drug which we can also use. This also has vasodilator property. Now try to understand one point. Generation 1 medicines are vasoconstricting beta blockers. And because of their vasoconstricting property, we should not use generation 1 medicines for vasospastic angina. So please remember, generation 1 beta blockers are contraindicated in patients of vasospastic angina, because in vasospastic angina already blood vessels are constricted, coronary vessels are constricted, and if we give a medicine that will further constrict these blood vessels, so obviously that should be avoided. It is contraindicated. Now apart from this second indication, third indication of beta blocker is arrhythmias. So beta blockers are given for the treatment of arrhythmias. Whenever we give beta blockers, beta 1 receptor is blocked. And when this beta 1 receptor is blocked, that can reduce the nodal system of the heart, right? That can reduce the heart rate, right? And because of this reason, beta blockers, which reduces the activity of heart as well as reduce heart rate, maintain the rhythm of the heart, and medicines are given for the treatment of supraventricular arrhythmias. So beta blockers are very good drugs for the treatment of supraventricular arrhythmias by reducing the heart rate as well as the nodes. Esmolol is a drug which has very good anti-arrhythmic activity for the treatment of intraoperative arrhythmias. Fourth indications of beta blocker. Beta blockers are given for the treatment of CHF. Now please remember, in patients of CHF, patient can present it to you in decompensated state as well as in compensated state. So in patients of acute decompensated heart failure, so any patient who has come to you with acute decompensated heart failure, in this patient already cardiac output is very low. And when this cardiac output is already very low, if you give beta blockers, these medicines will further reduce this cardiac output and can lead to death. So in patients of acute decompensated heart failure, beta blockers are contraindicated, because in these cases cardiac output is already very low and beta blockers will further reduce this cardiac output. But in patients of compensated heart failure, beta blockers are considered as one of the first line drug. So in patients of CHF, we know that cardiac output is low, and when this cardiac output is low, kidney will get less blood supply. So renal blood flow is less. And because this renal blood flow is less, as a compensatory mechanism, kidney will activate RAS system. We know that renin-angiotensin system is the one that will retain sodium in water and replenish the blood volume. So when renal blood flow is less, RAS system is activated, and in this RAS system, renin is released from JG cells. And now this RAS system will lead to release of aldosterone hormone. And this aldosterone hormone will act on cardiac muscles and can result in hypertrophy and remodeling of cardiac muscles. So this results in remodeling of cardiac muscles. Remodeling of cardiac muscles means hypertrophy and fibrosis of cardiac muscles. And this always takes place towards the luminal side. Like this is the heart and this is the left ventricle. Now in this left ventricle, whenever fibrosis and hypertrophy will take place, this will always takes place towards the luminal side. And because of this reason, the chamber volume will decrease, and if this chamber volume will decrease, overall end diastolic volume is decreased and therefore the cardiac output. And this process is irreversible process. Once it has taken place, it cannot be reverted back. So the cardiac output which is decreased, it is decreased forever. It cannot be replenished back. So remodeling of cardiac muscles will take place, and that will reduce the cardiac output in future. And if this cardiac output is reduced, this cycle will again restart, and this will cause more remodeling until and unless patient will die. Right? So this process of remodeling should be stopped or should be prevented. And this is done by beta blockers, because beta blockers are blocker of JG cells. On the surface of JG cells, we have presence of beta 1 receptor. So beta blockers block this JG cells, and by blocking this JG cells, beta blockers can prevent this process of remodeling. And by preventing this process of remodeling, beta blockers can reduce mortality in patients of CHF and can improve the survival. Second reason why we use beta blockers in CHF is, we people already know this point, that in patients of CHF, cardiac output is low. And because this cardiac output is low, in patient body's sympathetic system is overactive. And because this sympathetic system is overactive, this sympathetic system has a tendency to induce tachycardia. And if there is a tachycardia, we people already know this point, that diastolic duration will decrease. And if diastolic duration will decrease, then heart muscles will not be able to get sufficient blood supply, and this will further impact their inotropic effect. So this will further impact their inotropic effect, and cardiac output is keep on decreasing. So patient of CHF, whenever this patient will start moving, this patient will start going out of his house, patient body is at risk of getting tachycardias. And if this tachycardia develops, there is a risk of decompensation of this heart failure. So this tachycardia should be prevented. So if the patient is going out, patient is playing, patient is doing this office work, so this tachycardia should not develop, and this can be achieved by giving the beta blockers. So there are two reasons why we use beta blockers in CHF. Number one, beta blockers can prevent remodeling of heart, thereby improve the survival and reduce the mortality. Second reason, beta blockers can also prevent tachycardias in CHF patient. So these are the two reasons why beta blockers are first line drugs for compensated heart failure. But again, I am repeating, these medicines are contraindicated in decompensated heart failure, because in decompensated heart failure, cardiac output is already severely reduced. So in those cases, sympathetic system is trying to improve the cardiac output so that patient can survive. And in those scenarios, if we give beta blockers, patient can die immediately. That's why they are contraindicated. Let's talk about fifth indication. Fifth indication where beta blockers are used is MI, myocardial infarction. So in patients of myocardial infarction, beta blockers, by blocking beta 1 receptor, can reduce heart rate and reduce force of contraction, and therefore reduce oxygen demand, and can give rest to the heart tissue. Number two, these beta blockers also given to prevent remodeling. So these are the two reasons why we use beta blockers in MI patient. Now, whenever we use beta blockers in MI patient, we have to be careful about using these beta blockers. In patients of myocardial infarction, Beta blockers should be started in the lowest possible dose and gradually increase up till the optimal level. And same thing applies to the withdrawal of therapy. Whenever we want to stop this beta blocker therapy in MI patient, we have to stop it gradually. There should not be a sudden withdrawal of this beta blocker therapy. Otherwise, patient can develop rebound symptoms of MI. So, beta blockers should be started in low dose and gradually increase to optimal level. And if you want to stop this beta blocker therapy, then this withdrawal should always be gradual. Otherwise, there is a risk of rebound MI. So, in patients of MI, beta blockers should be started in low dose and gradually increase to optimal level. And if you want to stop this beta blocker therapy, again this withdrawal should be gradual. Otherwise, there is a risk of rebound MI. Now, after this fifth indication, let's move on to the sixth indication of beta blockers. Sixth indication of beta blocker is beta blockers are given for the treatment of HOCM. So HOCM full form is hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. So in patients of HOCM, beta blockers are used mainly to improve the cardiac output. Now this is something which you have to understand. In patients of HOCM, there is a hypertrophy at the base of aorta. And because of this hypertrophy at the base of aorta, whenever heart will contract, left ventricle will contract, volume of left ventricle will reduce. Now this hypertrophic part of this left ventricle can cause obstruction to the outflow of this aorta. Like this is heart, and we know that aorta starts from left ventricle. So at the base of aorta, muscles which are present at the base of aorta, these muscles are hypertrophied because of genetic reason. So whenever this left ventricle will contract during systole, so this hypertrophic portion will come close to each other and can obstruct the flow of aorta and therefore reduce the cardiac output. And if this cardiac output is increased, if this cardiac output is reduced, signal will go to brain, and now this brain will further increase the sympathetic tone. And because of this increased sympathetic tone with the help of beta 1 receptor, next time the heart will contract more forcefully. And if this heart will contract more forcefully, there is further reduction of cardiac output. And this cycle will continue. Every time heart will contract, hypertrophic portion come close to each other, causes obstruction to the flow of blood, cardiac output is reduced, signal will go to brain, there is further increase in sympathetic tone, further stimulation of beta 1 receptor, and there is further increase in force of contraction and hence reduced blood flow. So what we have to do, we have to break this cycle. So beta blockers are given to break this cycle and therefore improve this blood flow towards aorta. So in patients of HOCM, beta blockers are given to improve the cardiac output. Seventh indication, beta blockers are given for the treatment of mitral valve prolapse. So any patient who suffer from mitral valve prolapse, if you give beta blockers can control symptoms. And the main symptom which is controlled by beta blocker is tachycardia. So patient of mitral valve prolapse can come to you with tachycardia. So beta blockers are given to control this tachycardia. So these are the 7 indications where beta blockers are given to treat cardiovascular disorders. So beta blockers, when given to a patient, especially the lipid soluble beta blockers which can cross blood-brain barrier, these medicines after entering in central nervous system block beta 1 receptor. Now please remember, beta 1 receptor is type of excitatory receptor in CNS. So if these medicines block this beta 1 receptor, medicines can block various centers of CNS. Now, one of the center which is blocked by this medicine is RAS. So, patient will remain sleepy. Patient anxiety will be relieved. So, important side effect of these medicines are sedation, drowsiness, and depression. But we can use this action of beta blockers for the treatment of conditions like performance anxiety. So, please remember there is a lipid soluble medicine propranolol. Drug name is propranolol. This medicine is drug of choice for performance anxiety. Number 2, this medicine propranolol can also be given to treat opioid withdrawal syndrome. So any patient who suffers from opioid withdrawal syndrome, withdrawal center is firing excessively, right? And during this excessive firing, noradrenaline is released. And this noradrenaline via this beta 1 receptor can lead to various symptoms of withdrawal syndrome. So by blocking this beta 1 receptor, beta blockers, lipid soluble beta blockers will take care of opioid withdrawal. Now, after this CNS indications, we can discuss the next group of indications that is related to their vasoconstricting effect. So, we know that generation 1 medicines are vasoconstricting beta blockers, and we use this vasoconstricting effect for the treatment of few conditions. We'll discuss those. So, generation 1 medicines are vasoconstrictor, and because of this vasoconstricting property, these medicines can be used for the treatment of migraine. So, for migraine prophylaxis, whenever we give propranolol, by blocking beta 1 receptor, this medicine can reduce blood flow towards cerebral arteries. Therefore, there will be less stretching of blood vessels. I hope you people know this point. The migraine pain is because of vasodilation. Whenever blood vessels are dilated, there is a stretching of surrounding structure, and these surrounding structures are connected with pain pathways. So, whenever blood vessels are dilated or there is more blood flow from those blood vessels, because of the stretching of surrounding tissue, this leads to pain. So, propranolol by blocking beta 1 receptor reduces this blood flow, as well as these medicines by blocking beta 2 receptor will result in vasoconstriction. Now, same thing applies to esophageal varices. So, please remember propranolol is drug of choice for migraine prophylaxis. Propranolol is also considered as one of the very good drug for esophageal varices prophylaxis. So, for esophageal varices prophylaxis, we can use propranolol as well as nadolol. Reason is same. By blocking beta 1 receptor, these medicines can reduce blood flow towards this esophageal varices, as well as because of blocking beta 2 receptor, there will be constriction of blood vessel. So there is less chances of bleeding episodes in future. Number 3, apart from these two indications, beta blockers which are non-specific are also given for the treatment of hemangioma. So for the treatment of congenital hemangioma, we can use non-specific beta blockers to reduce the size of this hemangioma. So propranolol, timolol are two medicines which are used for this purpose. Medicines can be given by systemic route if the size of the hemangioma is large. If the size of the hemangioma is small, we can also use by topical route. So propranolol and timolol are two medicines which are given for hemangioma treatment. Now, apart from this vasoconstricting indication, there are some miscellaneous indications where beta blockers are used. Now, these miscellaneous indications are beta blockers, especially the non-specific beta blockers, are drug of choice for essential tremors. So, we already discussed in topic of beta 2 agonist that whenever we give beta 2 agonist like salbutamol, with the help of this beta 2 receptor, these medicines can cause tremors as a side effect with stimulation of muscle spindles. Now, if I block this beta 2 receptor, right? So if we block this beta 2 receptor, I can control these tremors. So any patient who is suffering from essential tremors, by blocking beta 2 receptor, we can stop this frequency of tremors. So propranolol, which is non-specific beta blocker given for essential tremors as a drug of choice. 14th indication, medicines are also given for thyrotoxicosis. So in patients of thyrotoxicosis, we know that T3 level is very high. So conversion of T4 to T3 is high. Now apart from that, patient will have tachycardias. Patient will also have arrhythmias. Now if we use medicine like propranolol, now this propranolol can stop this conversion of T4 to T3, as well as being as a beta blocker, it will control symptoms like tachycardia and arrhythmia. So this medicine can control symptoms of thyrotoxicosis as well as stop the conversion of T4 to T3. So it is one of the leading drug which we use during thyrotoxicosis. It is one of the fastest acting drug which we use during thyrotoxicosis. Next indication, beta blockers are also given for the treatment of pheochromocytoma. So in patients of pheochromocytoma, we know that noradrenaline and adrenaline level is very high, right? And because of this reason, patient can have tachycardias. So patient will have tachycardias, patient will have hypertension. So please remember, generation 2 medicines which are cardioselective or generation 3 medicines which also have vasodilator property are used to control these symptoms. So generation 2, generation 3 beta blockers are given to control symptom of pheochromocytoma. But please remember, there is already a presence of hypertension, already there is hypertensive crisis. So generation 1 medicines are contraindicated. So generation 1 medicines are contraindicated in pheochromocytoma because these medicines have tendency to cause vasoconstriction further. And that is why these medicines should not be used. Generation 2, generation 3 can be used, but generation 1 medicines are contraindicated. One more indication where beta blockers are used is glaucoma. Now in patients of glaucoma, please remember, whenever we block beta 1 and beta 2 receptor, this will reduce the level of cyclic AMP in ciliary body. So beta 1, beta 2 receptor present in ciliary body of eye. So by blocking beta 1, beta 2, cyclic AMP level is reduced, and that will reduce aqueous humor synthesis. And once this aqueous humor synthesis is reduced, we can use these medicines for glaucoma. Now for the treatment of glaucoma, we have option to use timolol, which is blocker of both beta 1 and beta 2, but we can also use a medicine known as betoxolol. So this is specific blocker of only beta 1 receptor. Now because both receptors are present on ciliary body, so timolol is a drug which has more efficacy. So this medicine is more efficacious than betoxolol for the treatment of glaucoma. So that is all about indications of beta blockers.